Hello and welcome to World Book Day, a day designed to promote literacy and reading around the world. And we are celebrating by sharing with each other four or five of our favourite books. It is exciting because these books are not necessarily chosen for like story, but just their quality as a book.
Yeah, it's not an analysis, is it?
As an artifact of something or other. And that is why I have picked for my first.
What's your first one?
It's incredibly weighty, and I need to go to the gym just to lift it.
Get on your bike.
I have picked The Making of Star Wars, which is by J.W. Rinsler, not the Rinsler from Tron, an entirely different Rinsler.
Right.
And that, as you can see, is quite a tome. And that is why I've chosen it. Not only is it's a really nice thing, like the cover is beautiful, you flip through it, and that is like, if you're a fan of anything, you kind of want somebody to do the treatment of it justice. And by that I mean, there was on Facebook, I think, they released like a couple of minutes of the rushes, the very raw footage that they shot while they were filming Star Wars. None of the editing done, none of the sound effects, anything like that. And they released it on Facebook. And I was watching it, I was thinking, do you know what? If they released all of the rushes of this film, it'd probably be like 30, 40 hours, I guess, maybe even more. But I would sit down and watch them all. Because I was that into Star Wars, and it made me interested in making films. Yeah. So I would be like, I would just hoover that knowledge up. And when you have a tome of that size, that is like, okay, we understand that our fans want detail. Yeah. Bam! Here's a book's worth of detail. And it's just, it's really
So what's the actual title? Did you read the title out?
It's The Making of Star Wars.
The definitive story behind the original film.
And I have got the other three. I've got them.
What, are they similar to that size?
They're exactly the
quality,
same. Yeah, Empire and Jedi. But this, because Star Wars is my favourite of the three, then it is obviously going to be my favourite book of the three. Plus the story's slightly more interesting in that they didn't know whether Star Wars was going to be a hit or not. Right. And they were like, the ways they were trying to generate the money and things to make the movie. Yeah.
I see it's got lots of good photos in there. The reproduction's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just...
Drawings as well, hand drawings.
Do you know, it's like you get the making of and it's like 30 pages. You're like, what the hell? Who would want that? Yeah. If you want to know about the making of something, you want, this is how it was done.
That's true,
From 100 different people putting their input.
So it's the Bible of Star Wars then.
I think that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. But not only that, is,
Yeah, can you show a picture or two?
I'll show a few. It's just like...
It's good quality.
It is really nice, artistically put together, as well as just, absolutely packed full of little details and things. Cool. It's a beautiful thing. It's an enormous thing, and it really does justice to its subject.
Excellent. Right, I'm going to go for then. It feels somewhat inadequate to your Star Wars, doesn't it?
I've flexed, and you really haven't.
That's my bicep in comparison to yours.
At least we went with bicep. So what have you got there?
I've got Proof Rock and Other Observations in this little book by T.S. Eliot.
T.S. Eliot.
I like the book itself. I like the style of it.
It's
the cover.
Simple.
Yeah, I really like that. I was really attracted to that.
I think if I was going with simple, I wouldn't have underlined his name.
Wouldn't you?
No. Did you do that? Or
Yes.
I know that you are a barbarian.
Yeah.
And you have a habit of writing on books.
Well, I do, it shows my affection towards the text.
So that's part of the design?
Yeah, it's by design, yeah. Yeah, so Proof Rock and Other Observations by T.S. Eliot. It's just one that I come back to fairly regularly. It reminds me, I guess, out of all of the books, it reminds me of my study days. So it kind of has that
T.S. Eliot
on top. Yeah, and I do like T.S. Eliot's work. Not all of it, but I really, really enjoyed discovering Proof Rock.
Okay. I never went beyond.
And the other poems.
The only one of his that I've ever read. So.
What, the Love Song? Yes, yeah. Well, there's probably about 13 or 14 poems in here. And I just liked it because it's poetry that I'd never Well, you show my annotations.
Yeah. You do know that you can get a piece of paper, write on a piece of paper, and tuck that piece of paper in.
What, for that poem, or
and you could have your notes without destroying the actual book that it was based on.
Well, one day that will get passed on to somebody, and they'll say,
"Oh, somebody's written all over it."
I was actually going for somebody had previously really intellectual had this book, really engaged with the writing and the text.
They would never know because your writing is impossible to read.
Could be anything. Yeah. Could be explaining T.S. Eliot.
They could look at that and go, "Oh, some German guy owned this." Oh no, they do look on closer inspection like English words.
No, that's Prufrock's writing. That's Alfred Prufrock's writing. As he goes down the stair with balding hair. Now that is not the rhyme that is used in there.
Oh, triple rhyme. It's off my car.
That was good, wasn't it? Yeah, that was good. I have just insulted T.S. Eliot though with that, and every other poet worth their salt.
So which one is your favourite poem?
Probably, actually, the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock. You've got Rhapsody on a Windy Night. That's a very good poem. Portrait of a Lady is very interesting. But he was just, I think, using language in a very new way to try and find meaning in kind of the unknowable in a way, to express inexpressible ideas. And
I do like as well something that you read it and you go, so what's that about? What does that mean to me? What does it mean to others?
Yeah.
I do like something with a little bit of grey about it. And I think that, like I say, it's the only one I read was the love song. I think it really does do that.
I just really liked it. I'll always come back to these, and you don't necessarily know analytically that he's saying this, very clearly, or you don't understand it necessarily fully, but I think you still come away with a feeling.
Now this book, I picked kind of for the same reason that you picked that one, in that it brings me back to my studies.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it, it's like, right, who are my favourite authors? To pick your 5 favourite books, you think, okay, I want David Gemmell, Desmond Bagley, Robert Heinlein. And of course, I did my dissertation on Robert Heinlein, and the one book that was absolutely key, not necessarily for its contents, but for the gateway from like that into people like Knight and Franklin, who also wrote about Heinlein. It's like, the basic ideas of they all came from this book, which is Heinlein in Dimension by Alexei Panshin, which absolutely was key to my dissertation, was finding this book. And probably there's another one as well by Slusser. His book as well was really key to it. But I found this one first, and it got me going really when I was like, okay, if I want to write about somebody, I need critical opinions on that somebody. This was the first one. And it's secondhand, which is why it's filthy and it's tatty.
It's got a quality to it, though, hasn't it?
But yeah, also it's from 1969, 1970, so it's getting on towards 50 years old. Yeah. And so yeah, it's better enough. I've got a sticker there from the library. I didn't steal it. It's disposed of by the library. But yeah, it's just like it's got my notes in it. Look.
Oh, on a piece of paper.
On a piece of paper.
Do you not write on the page then?
No, because I'm not a barbarian. But yeah, so I have picked this one. It is a nice thing. I would love it if it was in better shape, because I think that cover would be really quite nice.
Yeah, it wasn't quite matte,
covered in gunk and torn around the edges. But yeah,
it's been loved, hasn't it? It's been used, and
for the dissertation, absolutely key. I loved doing the dissertation. I loved reading about Heinlein almost as much as I enjoyed reading him when he's good. That book for me is nostalgia. I know it was only a couple of years ago that I was studying it, but it feels longer, and it feels like that was the key.
Yeah. So, that emblematises your whole degree. Well, yeah, I kind of felt like that about T.S. Eliot in a way.
Your second book?
Second book.
Do you have...
Don't quite know what it is.
A problem with text with more than 10 pages in them?
It's my attention span. It's pathetic.
Yeah.
It's a small child.
Not Generation X. What come after Generation X?
Generation 11, of course. Right,
show me the damn book already.
Okay, so we've spoke about Death in Venice really briefly before.
We talked about that on Great Covers, didn't we?
I think we did, yeah, it was Great Covers, yeah, so we'll show it again. That's not the reason why I've chosen it for the cover. One of the things why I've chosen this one is because it's a book that I've read probably sort of 4 or 5 times over the I don't know, the last sort of, 15 years, which doesn't sound that extraordinary, does it?
Not when it's 50 pages long, no. You can read that in an hour.
Yeah, you probably could if you were scanning quite quickly. Okay. So it's one that I have read quite a lot over the last 15 years.
No, let's be clear. If you'd had roast beef 5 times in 10 years, you wouldn't be saying I have a lot of roast beef, would you?
That's true.
So, and let's face it, cooking roast beef and eating roast beef takes about as long as it takes to read the book. So it's a fair comparison. Right, so you haven't read it quite a lot. You've read it...
I've never read this book.
You've read it at best sporadically over the last 10 years.
Yes, sporadically, yeah. With some big interludes in between as well.
Infrequently read Thomas Mann's Death in Venice. Tell me why you like it so much. And like it enough to read it so infrequently.
So this was first published in 1912. Right. So it's falling into that modernist movement. But I think at the heart of the book, there'd be so much to say about it, but at the heart of the book, you've essentially got an ageing intellectual. And that is an over-gross simplification of the characterisation done by Mann of Aschenbach. However, that's essentially what it is, or who he is. And what comes into this man's life, or rather who comes into this man's life, is this young man who he sees... Right. And he idealises him. You can read quite a lot into it, but I think essentially he does fall either in love or certainly lusts after him. But I think it's not just the physicality of this young man. I think it's what what Tadzio, the young man, symbolises for Aschenbach. And I think that is youth, kind of energy, scope, and I think there's a point in the book where he certainly realises that those things are potentially gone. And there's a wonderful part or sentence written by Mann. It's on the beach and they pass almost sort of to brush shoulders, and Aschenbach says to himself whilst looking back at Tadzio, it was all too brief. And I just think, yes, that's, to me, that really strikes me down, because he is referring to their little sort of relationship, but I think he's also referring to life as well. There are many wonderful things about this book, and it's well worth a read. For me, that one sentence there, it was all too brief, just sort of encapsulates the sadness. But it is one, again, I may read it again in the next 5 years. To make it a frequent read. Yeah. Okay, what's your second? Third now, is it?
Third.
Wow.
In the interest of showing up your puny...
I think that's all you're doing today, isn't it?
Collection of pamphlets.
Pamphlets, yeah. They came through the door, that's all it was.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I'm going to whip out another big one. Right, so this book is an encyclopedia of mythology, and you can see it's got Norse, classical and Celtic mythology in there. And again, much like the Star Wars one, it is a beautiful thing. Look at that.
Yeah.
But on top of that, it is...
Yeah, it's lovely printer.
Just really, really beautiful book. But the thing for me that makes this really worthwhile is because when I was trying to be a writer, you need to know not just about mythology, which obviously... But you need character names, and you might want to base a character on, say, like a specific figure.
Yeah.
So it's just flip through this, and you get so much, just the imagery.
The imagery is really nice.
And the text, it's all just it's really inspiring when you're thinking, I might write a book about something. Let's have a flip through, and something in there will just go. It might be a biography of one of the people, it might be imagery itself, but something in there will just go, that's quite interesting. That could work. So it's I wouldn't say it's sort of inspired any of the things that I did write particularly. But just was a really nice thing when you're sort of, okay, what am I doing? Let's have a little flip through and maybe get some inspiration.
Give you some ideas,
maybe a scene or a character, or just even just take a name for one of your characters or something like that. So really nice, really cheap. Is starting to get
a bit, yeah.
is well loved. So it's starting to fall apart a little bit. Needs a bit of looking after now, which previously could just be bashed around. Stand up to it.
Oh, it's a nice book though. Yeah, it's a lovely book. Yeah.
It's a lovely book. Yeah. As just, you know.
And you can put it on your coffee table when people come round, can't you?
Well, I'll get a coffee stain on it. I don't think so.
Okay, well, we spun through that quick, didn't we?
It's not a lot you can say about an encyclopedia, but it is a lovely book.
Now,
this is almost a grown-up size book.
This is almost a grown-up size book. I want to read this bit on the back to you very quickly, okay? I knew with certainty that the poems and the voice of Paul Celan would alter my inner existence as only the very greatest art, music, philosophic, metaphysical argument of poetry can do. Let him enter your life at risk, knowing that he will change it. I just want to add forever on there, which is not on there, but I want to put that on. Paul Celan, so he, like any artist, I suppose, creates through their experience. And his experience was, so his parents died in the Holocaust, and I believe he was in a camp himself. He later escaped, and I think a lot of those experiences in that camp fueled his writing. I just want to read this to you because it is quite important. Language, Celan said, was the only thing that remained intact for him after the war. His experience of the war years and the loss of his parents are the recurrent themes of his poetry. So I think what he's hanging on to, although he manipulates language massively, you know, in a lot of his work, that was the one thing that he could, I guess, feel any comfort from, or draw any comfort from. One of his main poems is Death Fugue, or Toad's Fugue in German. I read German for you. Thanks. But that was to do with depiction of a Holocaust camp.
Somebody might be, it's quite what you read off the back is quite a recommendation.
Definitely, yeah.
So I might be like, I might Google, perhaps. So what, if you were recommending one poem, what one would it be?
Maybe Death Fugue. It would give you some sense of his writing, the rhythm of his language. I think that would be a good start. Like your book, I studied him and wrote about him. So like your Heinlein, it's a similar thing, really. So yeah, so Paul Celan, he's one that I will always come back to be reminded of the extent that language can be used, I think, and to be constantly wowed by his writing prowess. Stunned by it, actually. Yeah, it's phenomenal. Phenomenal writer. Okay. There we go.
I'm not going to let you touch this.
No, don't.
Because you're a barbarian and you write in books and you break spines of books and you just generally don't treat books well.
I would like to bend that and watch you quiver.
I made a mistake with this one, I think, in that when you buy a book and then you get it signed, you should get signed a book that you bought just to get signed and read a different one.
With you.
Whereas this I actually took with me
to
say, will you sign my copy of David Gemmell, Wolf in Shadow, and he did sign it for me, and unfortunately that has left me with a well-loved copy of Wolf in Shadow with a signature rather than a pristine one, which I'm sure most people would like more. I'm going to open it just a touch because I don't even like to...
Go on, bend it back. I can't see.
So there you go, signed by David Gemmell, no longer with us, my hero, particularly in the time when I met him. Absolute gentleman. This book is wonderful. This is one of those books, not just chosen for the cover and its form as a book, but actually because the story is wonderful, the characters are great. It really is a terrific book. And I have a 5 of the best on David Gemmell video, which you can just watch that instead of me talking about the story here. But yeah, that's why I picked that, as much for the story as it is for the fact that I got to meet him and he signed my book, and it is a much loved copy. If you're looking for a good time reading a fantasy novel, then you want to go with David Gemmell.
Okay, yeah.
And still do. Yeah, absolutely, it is outstanding. And so yeah, this one I picked partly because it's got that signature in it. But you know, I would have picked Gemmell in some form.
That was one of your 5, yeah.
So that's me.
Goodness me.
Down to one book
You've
left.
got one book
so
left.
You must have 2 books
I've got 2, and now this is one of...
That's a whopper.
It's a whopper.
Are you trying to outdo me?
Yeah, I just quickly nipped out and got it.
Yeah, you've left it to
I've got no idea who Van Gogh is.
Right.
I just wanted a big book.
Well, you have to compete somehow.
Yeah.
I think the Star Wars one's bigger still.
It probably is, yeah.
More paper. Yeah.
I'll just show the reader. This is Taschen, one of the Taschen books. Van Gogh. I'll show you sunflowers on the back. Beautiful painting.
Yeah. I used to have that on my wall.
Did you?
Sunflowers. That exact one, by the
Oh,
look of
right.
it.
What did you do with it?
Well, it got a bit tatty. It'd been around a couple hundred years, so I just chucked it in skip.
Like any Van Gogh book, I've got quite a few at home. I've got lots of different art books. It obviously tracks his artistic development and thing. I'll show them actually. Let's go for it.
Go for a different one.
Another sunflower one.
So you are a painter yourself. That's
I
what
love
finished.
painting, yeah. So there's some lovely reproductions there of his work.
How can you be sure they're reproductions?
Well, not the real one. Yeah. Well, I think he painted quite thickly, so it's quite.
You've got to close the book.
It's quite smooth. Yeah. Let's just show another one here. Just going to show that one again.
So let me ask you something.
Oh, there we go.
Because it's quite a tragic figure, isn't it?
Very tragic. Yeah.
Do you think that influences why you like him, or is it purely the talent?
I think his personal life probably most certainly influences how I think you look at his work.
Does he influence your painting?
He does at the moment, and this is one of the reasons I've chosen this art book for the video, because I have got a few art books, obviously, of different artists, painters, eras, and so forth. And Rembrandt is a favourite of mine, and Caravaggio, and I've obviously got books on them. But at the moment, and for quite a time actually, I've been dipping in and out of this book, particularly this one, because I think it's the best book that I've got that has got a collection of his works. But the Taschen books, the Taschen series, are very good quality books. Yeah,
I can't help notice just how clumsy you are with that. You push the dust cover up to the top, and then you're flattening the top of that.
I know, but the beautiful thing was, well, this is a lovely book. I got it for £2.50 in a charity shop.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
That's a bargain.
It's a good, charity shops are really well worth it. But I think the printout, I know people can't see that probably very clearly, but they might be able to. They're really good. They're really glossy. There's a nice finish, and you can see the detail of the paint. So it's quite a nice book to dip in and out of, and particularly as he is influencing my own painting. Not to say that I'm not original though.
I've seen your sunflowers.
Full of
very original.
Don't know where I got that idea.
Yeah, I shouldn't be so mean. I really shouldn't.
Where did I get that idea from? Yeah. Have you got a weighty book this time, or is it just a small one?
I have got a fairly sturdy volume, but I am only interested in the first 100 or so pages of it, because I have Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol and other Christmas stories.
Yeah.
And it's worth mentioning that I haven't read any of the other Christmas stories. And I've heard...
Probably nobody has.
I have heard that they're not very good.
Oh, really?
And it is only the first one that's actually worth bothering with, which obviously most people know, the Christmas Carol.
Yeah. So this is your number one, isn't it?
This is, and I have deliberately left it to last because it is my number one.
Right.
And I did a review of it, which is available on the channel, and if you've seen that, you could tell that I really like this.
Yeah.
I mean, really like this.
Yeah.
To the point where it's actually almost making expression of the fact that I really like this. But it goes beyond that, in that for years and years I've been really cynical and sort of around Christmas time just like, I can't be bothered.
Yeah.
I have no interest in Christmas.
Yeah.
But it actually made me care about Christmas.
Did it really?
It really
Wow.
did. And that's something that Dickens said, because he was going to write a pamphlet about poor conditions in what are they called? Ragged schools or something like that.
Okay, yeah.
And then he said, no. He wrote to somebody, he said, I've changed my mind, I'm going to write the book, it's going to hit like a hammer. And he wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
Because it really does make you go, wow.
Yeah.
And it does a lot of things, like sort of in a literary sense, that I don't really like.
Okay, yeah.
In most circumstances, I wouldn't like somebody says, oh, dear reader. Do you know what I mean? Like that sort of thing. I haven't a fair bit in the past, but you don't do it very much anymore. And I don't really like that. It reminds me I'm reading a book. It breaks me out of the story.
Yeah.
So he does little things like that all the way through. And it's very much the sense of being told a story.
Yes.
Which, of course, he went on a great reading tour of it. So there was sort of deliberately done to do that. Yeah, I love Dickens. I haven't read all of everything by him.
No.
7 hours in a day. But everything that I've read, I have really liked. great characters, great story, great books, so beautifully written, so engaging.
Will
It's
you
just
read
wonderful.
it more than 5 times in 15 years, do you think?
I've already read it 3 times,
Yeah.
and I've only owned it a year.
You're quite a frequent reader of that then, aren't you?
That's well, let's
you're
not get carried
you're quite
away.
progressive
I mean, if I
in
had
your
roast
reading.
beef 3 times a year, I wouldn't say like. But yeah, I haven't read anything else 3 times in that period. I really love it, everything about it, and if you want to know more, I'm not going to go into it in this video. Just watch the video
You've
that I
got your
made
other one.
on the Christmas Carol.
Excellent.
Yeah. I think that if you take away one thing from this video, it's that you should go and get the Christmas Carol and read it.
Interestingly, what have I got there? 3 poetry books?
Yeah.
I didn't know I loved poetry so
can we
much.
just acknowledge as well? I mean, if you just show who it is very quickly, I just want to just say to you that a good portion of your books are written by people who died young.
Yeah. I mean, Wilfred Owen for the obvious reasons.
Before we go,
Yeah.
I know I'm interrupting you twice now
Yeah.
before you've even done your introduction.
That's
of the
okay,
book,
mate. That's
but I just
all right.
want to point people in the direction of your video on this channel.
Yes.
On this subject.
On Wilfred
Because it's a
Owen.
very good video that nobody watches. So
I know. Yeah.
when you're done with this one, watch that.
Click onto that one immediately. Yeah. So I saw it in one of the obviously local bookshop, and I just thought I have got other Owen books at home.
I bought one for you.
Yeah, you did actually.
I bought one for you.
But I just thought it's an absolutely beautiful cover.
Yeah, it is.
Obviously the poppies, the barbed wire in the background as well, on the fields. I think if there was one author that I would take anywhere or on the island thing, it would be Wilfred Owen.
See, I would take Dickens, so that's worked out really well, hasn't
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. No writer has moved me in the way that he has done. What his writing does, obviously, is dramatise the war very well. But in doing that, it highlights my existence against his. I mean, that's to say nothing of his poetic skill, and I think he was a brilliant poet.
I think that it is one of the reasons why like, people study him in schools and things.
Yeah,
And he actually is a damn good poet.
Yes,
as
that's
well
right,
as talking about just like a subject that we are losing touch with a little bit. The Great War. There's not any survivors left, I don't think, of the people that fought.
Yeah. Show the inside cover.
So yeah, it's just. I mean, there are a lot of war poems, but Wilfred Owen is the most famous for the reason I think is I think he's the best. And I got to say, can I?
Of course, yeah.
Because I mean, you've shown that up. It's like, I haven't seen that, but
It's beautiful, isn't it?
If I'd seen that in the shop, I would have bought that.
It's one of the reasons I did. Yeah.
I don't read poetry books well, but we talked about some of the other books, just like the look and the feel of the book as a thing, as much as its contents.
Yeah.
And I think that really is. I think that's incredible.
It's a lovely book.
Yeah.
Even Sassoon recognised Owen's kind of ability to write, surpassed him. Although he did a lot of tutelage with Owen. They had a very short and I think brief relationship. I do admire a lot of Sassoon's poetry, but Owen seems to be the apotheosis of certainly writing about war. He seems to be that real beacon of truth at the time, To be melodramatic, but it's quite a draining experience, I think. If you do read it, it takes a lot out of you, and it takes a lot of investment, I think.
A lot of these poems are really short. So it's like you could, if you had even a minute or two, just have a dabble. Just remind yourself, whatever you're going through can be solved.
Yeah, have a little look at that. Yeah. Definitely.
What these men went through was beyond their ability to solve.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good way to think of it. So yeah, Wilfred Owen, that's probably the one book I would have.
It has just like brought a degree of seriousness.
It has, yeah.
Into the room.
Yeah, it has actually. Yeah.
Cheers for that.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah.
Great. He is a great poet. It is really important to have these documents, and when they are presented to you beautifully.
Yeah.
Because I guess you could argue it's pretty crass, really, to even be selling these. I mean, you can get them for free from the Wilfred Owen website.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But somebody's making money. It's like, where does the money go? I'd want that money to go to a veterans charity, rather than to a publisher. But I can't argue that actually is like a really beautiful thing.
It's really well done, isn't it? Yeah, I just love that.
They have made an effort. I'm not going to criticise them. So that was a top 5 from each of us on World Book Day.
World Book Day.
There's some really good books to choose from there, and as we proved from most of ours, have come from charity shops. Not expensive.
Yeah, a few of those.
Yeah, reading as a hobby is not an expensive one.
No. And it's very good for you. Yeah, very good for you. Takes you to places, obviously Owen and Ceylon and people like that, that you would never really go.
Takes you to pretty horrible places in Owen and Ceylon.
Yeah.
And it'd take you to a fabulous Christmas marketplace with Dickens.
Yeah.
To the future of our own world.
Yeah.
Possibly with Gemmell. The past of our own world with mythology.
Yeah.
Other worlds with Star Wars.
That was quite a good way to sum it up, actually.
It was, wasn't it?
In worlds,
Where else can you get all of those things
Yeah.
than in a book collection?